They change the name every 50 years. They'll change the name, but it's always been Gladio. Gladio is the Italian version of military intelligence assassination teams. It has nothing to do with the KGB, nothing to do with CIA whatsoever. CIA is not involved with Gladio. Gladio has to do with military teams like the Navy SEALs, like the Green Beret in the Army. They have to do with the Army left behind. That's what they call it. Whenever there's a military operation like a war or an invasion, when they are done, when they complete, then the infantry or in the Navy, they stand down, they leave, but they never completely leave because they leave behind teams of Gladio, part of their military intelligence community, and port authority security for air and sea and rail and road. Those are all mapped and secured, and Gladio teams are left behind in the event that there's some resistance, organized resistance against the occupying forces. Because even though the Army leaves, they don't completely leave. And the illusion is that they leave, but they leave behind a clandestine organization that's infiltrated into your churches and your agencies of government. It also goes by the sword, because Gladio typically worked with the stiletto dagger, right? It was known to work with the stiletto dagger, which is a military weapon, and it also worked with the bayonet. This is the latest version. They actually have a M9. This is an M7, but this is a bayonet that's involved with the killing of Sharon Tate and Lena LaBianca, for example. But Gladio has to do with the Army left behind. It used to be called Jedburgh, or the Navy SEALs, or the Green Beret. It goes by different names, but it has to do with clandestine teams to murder or terrorize the local occupied colony, the secured hamlet. And it's invisible, and yet it typically does operate day and night. It can operate day and night, but typically at night under cover of darkness. All right, that's it.
Yeah, that's a good introduction. Thank you. That segues right into these clips from the this actually aired years ago. It's on Substack, on my Substack, the Operation Gladio documentary. These clips aren't long. The first one is titled "Invisible Armies," and so that's exactly kind of what you just said. So I'm just going to go ahead and play that, and then we'll talk about it after.
Okay.
C'è un esercito invisibile, non predisposto per una battaglia, una guerra esterna contro un ipotetico invasore, ma addestrato ad operare all'interno contro quello che in tutti gli ambienti militari è stato sempre definito una quinta colonna dell'Unione Sovietica, il Partito Comunista e le forze di estrema sinistra ad esso collegate.
Because everybody can see it for themselves. The matrix of mendacity is the term that Juxtaposition has created to explain the insanity of almost anything we see now. The matrix of mendacity is a full spectrum dominance environment founded entirely on falsehoods in contrived narratives. This construct, operating as a sophisticated, militarized matrix, functions simultaneously as a prison, a rabbit hole, and a maze. It is defined architecturally beyond mere two-dimensional systems, extending into the realms of the third, fourth, and even fifth dimensions of time and space. It's characterized by the foundational deceits of predetermined choice, the array of false symbols and real symbols, and illusions of sovereignty.
Yeah, I like that. That's what it is.
Yeah, I figured it's nice to be able to share these as images, or as I just did, put it up so people can read it when we use these terms without having to go in and fill in these details retroactively. But yeah, everything now, because what I just said, there's a seemingly less and less tangible, hold it in your hand, verified evidence. And so that really just kind of forces things to exist within the matrix of mendacity.
Well, again, I'd like to point out it's always been that way. So that's not new. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when we had the John Kennedy assassination, they didn't release any evidence on that either, right? And they had people like Dan Rather and Walter Cronkite, bald faced lying to the camera, lying to the camera. That was in 1963. They're lying to the camera. Okay. They're making up lies. Dan Rather lied. He said he watched the Zapruder film and that the shot came from the rear. That's a bald faced lie. He didn't look at any film at all. The film is in Rochester, New York, being developed by the CIA, Kodak Hawkeye Laboratory, which is the only lab that does Kodachrome film. So Dan Rather is a bald-faced liar. So why they were doing that in 1963. So why would you think things are different today when Megyn Kelly parades out James Woods to tell you that his home burned down in Pacific Palisades just a few months ago? At the beginning of this year in January 2025, James Wood cried on the Megyn Kelly show that he stood in his driveway. If you have any time in a courtroom, in a maritime law courtroom, all the courts are maritime law. They don't follow the Constitution. They fly the American flag, the 13 stripe unity amongst Masons flag, and then your pseudo state flag. They fly those two flags. But then the judge enters the courtroom wearing a satanic black robe, and his desk is elevated 24 inches above everyone else. Then you're supposed to stand for the satanic entrance of your pseudo judge. He's not a judge. He's a tribunal member of a cult called the Barristers, or the part of the maritime law attorneys. He's a member, he or she is a member of a cult, and they're wearing a black robe, and everyone is told to be seated, meaning you have no standing in this court. If you're seated, you're not standing, right?
Yeah, and I mean, look, let me put it this way. Anyone is free to try to go and represent themselves in court. And I mean, I wish you luck, but at the end of the day, anyone who's ever been through a courtroom understands that the law is what the judge says the law is. And,
well, the judge won't allow you. I've got news for you. You're not allowed to defend yourself in a court. There's no such, they don't use the Constitution. That's the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution. What Constitution are you talking about, says the judge.
You can try
I'm going to allow you to defend yourself in my court, says the judge.
You can try, but the guy will just tackle you and put you in handcuffs and tase you. And then
no, I actually did that in real life. I said, well, I'm firing my attorney. So it's me or nobody. It's me or no one's defending me. So what they did in real life, in real time, is they had a 2-hour adjournment where they had secret meetings in the parking lot. And I told the judge, I said, I want to admonish you, judge, that you don't have any ex parte communications. If you have a meeting in your parking lot or your chambers, I must be present because I have no attorney. I am representing myself. So what they did was, just like at YouTube, they ignored me and had 2 hours of secret meetings. Then we began the meeting. What do we call that? We commenced the meeting into his second wife. They have 3 children. The middle child being Nick, who's the murderer, allegedly. And Rob Reiner is 78 years old. Michelle Singer, who he met on the set of Harry Met Sally, had Billy Crystal in that. Remember Harry Met Sally? He met his second wife and then could divorce. Penny Marshall was his first wife, Penny Marshall. And Penny Marshall had a daughter from another man. I don't know if she was married to him or not, Tracy. And then Rob ended up, adopting Tracy, but he's only 17 years older than Tracy. So he's not really the father of Tracy, and he's not really her adopted father either because he's too young to really be her father. So you should know that then Rob had 3 children with Michelle Singer. He had, their names are as follows: Jake and Nick and Rami. Rami's 28 years old. You know that Rami lives directly across the street from the murder scene. Okay, the murder scene is 255 South Chadbourne Avenue, and Romney, the youngest child, She lives at 240 South Chadbourne Avenue, directly across from his gate. And of course, 240 is Masonic number 33, and 255 South Chadbourne, where the double homicide was, that's 12, like Jesus has 12 apostles. It's a corner lot. It's on Hanover Street on South Chadbourne Avenue. It's 1.6 miles to the party that they attended Saturday night, the Christmas party at Conan. I've got Conan's address in case you're interested in sending a Christmas card to Conan O'Brien. He's at 1253 Amalfi Drive at Pavia Place, but the street address is 1253, which is Masonic number 11, which is Divinity, Perfection, and Completeness. 1253 Amalfi Drive. The Reiner family attended a party at Conan where the news is reporting that there was an argument between Nick and Rob at the party. Not a single witness has corroborated that. There were probably over 100 people at that party. Not a single person has verified that story is true, but the media is going to report it anyway, despite having no witnesses to that. And that we know that Nick doesn't drive a car, so he drove to the party with his parents. Then he would have been driven back home. He lives with them at the 255 South Chadbourne Avenue. That is Nick Reiner's Reiner. Let me just give you the names of his neighbors. Kamala Harris. You heard of Kamala Harris before? She was running for president. She's a neighbor of Rob Reiner. Randy Newman. Short people got no reason to live, Randy Newman. I love LA, Randy Newman. It's money that matters, Randy Newman.
Toy Story.
He lives a mile away. Ronald Reagan used to live there, 2 houses from Randy Newman. Patrick McGowan, my favorite actor of all time, Patrick McGowan, Identity Crisis. He lives 1 block from Randy Newman. Ben Affleck, he used to be married to J-Lo. He was the 4th husband of Jennifer Lopez, Ben Affleck. And then his former wife, the wife that he was married to before he was married to J-Lo, Jennifer Gardner, she lives there too, because why not? You want to live next to your ex-husbands.
This is where it gets interesting.
Adam Sandler, an unfunny Jewish comedian, he lives there. Anthony Hopkins, what was it called? Silence of the Lambs. Anthony Hopkins lives there. Didn't we just have another possible Gladio murder of Matthew Perry dead in his jacuzzi? He lived there. The Getty Villa, which preceded the Getty Museum, that's there. Don't you find it doubly ironic that we had this firestorm ripping through Pacific Palisades, which Megyn Kelly covered, and that none of these people that I'm mentioning did their homes burn down? Not a single one of them. Conan O'Brien, Kobe Bryant of the Lakers, of the Los Angeles Lakers, Matt Damon, Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, Donna Dixon, John Goodman, Steve Guttenberg, James Wood, who cried on Megyn Kelly's show that my house is going to burn down, and I said goodbye to it, but it didn't burn down, and I didn't apologize for being wrong. Okay, well, Barack Obama fits the who cares category. Doesn't matter, who cares, irrelevant fake president. Okay. I mean, you want to talk about fake presidents, you go with Ronald Reagan as number 1. He's number 1 fake. And then, then you have Dwight Eisenhower and Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln. Those are your top fake leaders. Okay. Because none of those guys were in charge of anything, but they did do a better job than Obama in terms of fakeness, in terms of acting. Because the contribution is theatrical. But anyway, the examples that I would give you is number 1 was JonBenet Ramsey, who had to have access to the security code in order for her body to be put in the wine cellar. And that would be military, has access to the Lockheed house, 10,000 square foot home with the West Tech security system or whatever contractor they're using in Boulder. And then the other example is William Colby, the former CI director and in charge of Phoenix terrorism, political assassination, Gladio programs run in Vietnam. He was asked by a book author who wanted to write a book on the Phoenix program, the Phoenix terrorism, political assassination program. which has many elements of Gladio baked into that Phoenix cake. They asked, he went to visit him at his home, his fishing cabin,